you had Joe Biden, well, rather Hunter Biden, getting brought up on the criminal charges, but it's one of these like Kansas City shuffle. Like, everybody look over here. Forget about what's happening over here for a second. Let's all talk about Titanic 2 and
Hey, what's going on, man?
yeah, not much, man. Just thinking about all the crazy news going on. Like even
Well,
like that Titanic stuff. Like I don't know if we really want to get into that, but
I mean, I feel bad for those involved, but I was reading an article this morning where they were talking about they brought in some sociologists who were said they were very concerned with the United States because of all the memes that were coming out about it and the fact that there seemed to be a lack of empathy for those on board.
uh,
And I I was like, man, where have you guys been? Because I feel like that's been a thing for a while now, but I really don't want to get into that. So,
yeah, and no, I mean, I feel for that because
Mhm.
that's kind of where I'm at. Is like
Right.
I feel like there's been a lot of just like zero empathy. Like it's just been
Right.
like this is just something that happens on the internet. Everybody's so desensitized and just like everything's a joke. But I
I
don't know.
mean,
Pe- People died as much fun as it is to poke at billionaires. I mean, we're laughing
I was
at
about to
a
say,
tragedy.
yeah, you lost 5 people, 4 of which had no idea what they were getting themselves into. So, I mean, it's still terrible. But anyway, so today I thought we were going to talk about the Durham report.
We
And
were, but you know what? Let me just take that Titanic right there and just
okay.
I think that was more of a cover story that
Mhm.
you had Joe Biden, well, rather Hunter Biden, getting brought up on the criminal charges, but it's one of these like Kansas City shuffle. Like, everybody look over here. Forget about what's happening over here for a second. Let's all talk about Titanic 2 and
Dude, my initial thoughts on this were like, okay, you finally got Hunter Biden. Still no ties to Joe. But then as I read through it, the things that he's pleading guilty to are things that like 90% of Americans would be found guilty of at some point.
yes, and
So,
what kind of penalties would those 90% Americans see compared to what Hunter Biden got?
I mean, it's part of being rich and having good lawyers. I I mean, that's really all I can say about it is it's just you spent 5 years looking into this and what you got out of it were tax evasion and a gun charge. Really? That's it?
Okay, you can say like that's what you got out of it, but
Mhm.
don't pretend like this isn't Joe Biden's Department of Justice. Like that's what they went after. That's the deal that they offered.
No, the thing is I'm not gonna let you have that because this whole thing started under Trump's Justice Department. So if there was
Okay,
something to
but
find, they had
who
time to find it.
who? No, they didn't have time to find it. But who appointed the special counsel? It was Merrick Garland
True.
under Joe Biden, and Merrick Garland can try to say all he wants that oh, that this was I appointed a special counsel. It's up to them. Like I'm not going to let him have that one. And unfortunately, I'm a nobody, and the
Well,
the
I mean,
media is going to run with you got Whoopi Goldberg and all the chicks on the View. Like everybody's going to run cover. Even Fox News is lost at this point.
I mean, I'm not gonna disagree. Do I think that Hunter Biden's a bad dude? Yes. But what I am gonna like pin people on is the fact that you still found nothing when it comes to Joe Biden. Like
Found nothing or
you found nothing. You
went
got
into
nothing.
nothing.
You got nothing.
We'll see. So didn't Joe Biden just get impeached like yesterday? The House pretty quietly, I think. Again, everybody looking at the Titanic. Don't focus on what's going on over here. You got the House
I mean,
passing articles of impeachment that are going to go nowhere just because.
they're gonna go 0. Like
Yeah, the Senate's
it,
going to Joe Manchin, Kristen Sinema, all the outliers, like they're
no,
all going to go party line on that.
well, I mean, you're gonna end up with the same situation that Democrats ran under Donald Trump, right? You voted twice to impeach the dude, and nothing happened. And the
Sure.
thing is this is just backlash for what happened to Donald Trump. So,
I don't
like,
know if it's necessary. I think there's definitely more to the Joe Biden China story. Like there's a text message I saw this morning of Hunter Biden talking to it was from Hunter's phone to some Chinese CCP ranking member saying like, I'm sitting right next to my father, like we need an answer soon, and by soon I mean
Oh,
today. Like,
okay. So what does that mean?
what
Like,
does that mean?
yeah,
It doesn't, it means there's something to look into. It means like, okay, let's look at funds
okay.
transferring between Hunter Biden's account and whoever this
And
guy is.
and this is why I wanted to look into like the Durham report and stuff like that, is because we've spent a ton of money investigating these people to end up with nothing. Like, so you want to launch yet another investigation, and when you find nothing and you get no criminal convictions, it's still not going to be enough. And that's the thing that I find Republicans in right now is you go, okay, this looks shady, let's look into it. I mean, it's the same thing that Democrats did to Donald Trump with Russia, and I don't excuse that either. But at the same time, at least in the Russia investigation, you had 34 indictments and 34 convictions. You got nothing under Durham, and you're going to get nothing to pin Biden on. So what's the difference?
So
Like,
I feel like we're still in the middle of this.
mhm,
Like it's like when you first messaged me about, Hunter Biden investigation, you get
mhm,
like all you could get was this, and wait for the other shoe to drop.
okay,
Wait for, like, make Democrats actually defend Joe Biden and say, no, we're not gonna press charge, like move forward with this. I'm not sure what it's called in the Senate. Like I know the House only does the impeachment, but
right. No,
uh
the Senate still has to vote to impeach as well. So it's the House may have voted for it, but the Senate has to more or
see,
less do the ruling.
so and that's what I think it's called, something different, because
Mhm,
that's what Nancy Pelosi was trying to push those against Trump, saying if you're a twice impeached president, like you
mhm,
don't get to be buried in the whatever presidential graveyard.
right.
And that's what I'm just waiting for Joe Biden to get the same treatment. And let's trump up some charges on Biden for a second impeachment
I mean,
when he's already lost the election. And
if you want to do that, go for it. I'm
uh,
just
I mean
saying
it,
it's going to look petty. It's not going to make Republicans look or feel any better, but go
but
for it.
but it'll be the Jerry Springer side of things.
Mhm.
Like it's definitely going to be that trash TV that, I mean, let's be real, that's what American politics is these days, is
I
political
mean,
theater.
yeah, it's the thing is like I'm searching my mind for a time that it was never this way. It's always been this way. Like since I've been growing up, like you had the Bill Clinton scandal, you had I mean you had everything under George W. Bush, Obama. Like it's always been this just
It hasn't
terrible sideshow.
it hasn't always been like that, but like for our entire lives, like yeah,
Right.
Bill Clinton and George W, like all of that, all the Al Gore memes.
Right. Right.
It's, and I guess memes probably weren't a thing back then, but
It's
it's all been just for show. And you've got people pulling the strings that, like that's what, I don't know if you watched or saw that James O'Keefe, he had some new thing about BlackRock.
oh yeah, I did see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
where the BlackRock guy's saying like we own, like you just take a s ton of money. Like I don't want to cuss, like I want to keep
right.
the
Right.
explicit tag off of here, but
Mhm.
you got a dookie load of money
Mhm.
and you throw that at somebody and you buy a politician. And
More or less, yeah.
I think that's been going on
I
our
mean,
entire lives.
and I don't. You're not going to hear me defend BlackRock and their business practices. The fact that they were in Ukraine after the conflict broke out, already saying, "Oh, we're going to help with the rebuild effort. Just sign here. That way, we own everything." And I think it's unfortunately it's big business at it again, and the politicians that they've been able to buy. But I mean, it's never gonna get any better unless we can somehow find a way to either limit how big a corporation can get or to somehow get money out of politics, which no one seems to have a vested interest in doing.
Uh,
So,
and exactly, like you're not going to find the people that are writing these laws saying, "Yeah, we'll go ahead and vote to, like, collectively." You might get a couple onesie twosies in there, but out of the 400 whatever members of Congress, you're not going to get 500 something members of Congress. You're not going to get people to say, "Yeah, we're going to take less money."
yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, I work for a living. You work for a living. If your paycheck was decided by a vote, would you ever vote yourself a pay cut? Absolutely
Exactly.
not. You wouldn't do it.
But
So,
well, and to bring this back to Trump, I mean, the only president when he said he wasn't going to take a paycheck. Like, I think Politico or some fact checking was like, no, we're gonna fact check, and that was false. He took $1 a year because the president has mandated us that. Like, okay, you step down from what, $450,000, $400,000
Well,
a year.
so I think it was because he never divested himself from any of his companies, so he didn't need it. Like,
He didn't need it.
what the president gets paid is a pittance compared to what he makes yearly. So
For sure, but Trump is the only guy that's lost money from the time that he entered office to leave it. Like, you look at Obama,
yeah,
tens of millions of
that's
dollars,
what's crazy is
George W., everybody.
that was his own doing. Like
Okay, but
you
that
put
doesn't tell.
yourself you put yourself up there, you do a bunch of things that are very unpopular, and all of a sudden you start losing money. You did it to yourself.
Okay, but you're saying that like it's a bad thing that like, oh, you played yourself. You didn't put yourself for like, you
Mhm.
got to make sure you eat before everybody else. Like, that's what Obama did. That's what George W. did. Like, no, Trump was independently wealthy before entering office, so he didn't have anybody. Like, BlackRock didn't have anything on him. Like, the best you could get was some photo of him shaking hands
That
with Jeffrey
I
Epstein.
was about to say that you know of. That's the thing though, is like you have the entirety of the federal government against you at this point in time. And I mean, it's all nice and sealed up there in the indictment. Do you think that if we reelect Donald Trump, that anybody in the intelligence services whatsoever is going to trust him at all? Is going to work with him at all?
Is gonna trust him? I don't know. It depends. It's more, does Donald Trump trust anybody in the intelligence community?
Dude, he would have to clean house.
He would, and that like, Peter, I'm already sold. Like, you don't have to sell it to me. Or I guess Harry. Like, that's
Right.
the, like, I already bought it. You don't have to
That's
sell it to me. Like, that
no,
that's one of the pluses of getting Trump in office, is he is going to have that out for revenge, and get rid of all the career politicians.
the thing is, he's not going to be able to get rid of career politicians. He's going to get rid of people that are working 9 to 5 jobs, just so happen to be employed by the federal government. Like
It's
those
so it's
politicians, those corrupt politicians will remain. You're going to cost a lot of good people their jobs.
There will be some good people lost,
Mhm.
but it's kind of like when there's chemotherapy, or you're
Okay.
getting rid of cancerous cells. There's going to be some good cells that are going to be lost, but in order to get rid of this cancer that's formed within the intelligence community, within the FBI, within the CIA, to get rid of this, you're going to have to lose some good people. And
Okay.
I don't think those good people should be blaming Donald Trump. They should be blaming, one, the people that are putting him in that position, the bad and corrupt, off, like, people that are supposed to be upholding these laws, and then two, they should be blaming themselves for keeping quiet for so long.
So there was a talking point from the left during Trump's administration about the fact that he was appointing a bunch of like district judges, a bunch of federal judges, right? And what has been the talking point ever since is that, oh, well, we can't trust any judge that was appointed by Trump, including the one that's going to have to rule on his indictment, right? Now, amplify that by 10 times if you just clean house of the intelligence agencies, of the FBI. Like, what do you think that does to the public trust in those institutions? The little bit that they have left.
I
Like,
don't I don't know about necessarily public trust. It's more media trust. It's the ones that, the
okay,
people that are parroting these narratives, saying, "Oh, we can't trust just because this person's associated to Donald Trump. We can't trust them." You can easily flip the switch the other way and say,
right.
we can't trust anything that Biden does. Like,
Well, I
to
mean,
say somebody can do nothing right or nothing wrong is just as bad
so
as the other.
the Republicans were doing that under Obama. They're like, well, you can't trust the Eighth Circuit. You can't trust the Fifth Circuit. Those are Obama appointed judges. Like, we always play this game, but no president has gone through and actually cleaned house of federal agencies because they're unwilling to work with him because the president has proved himself untrustworthy with classified material. Like, I
So you're gonna pretend like that's just a Donald Trump issue with the classified material? Like,
he's the only one who didn't turn things back over. He's the only
what?
one.
So
And the
so
thing
you're gonna.
is in order to be charged with the things he's charged with, you have to prove intent. And they have him on recording where intent is proven beyond, like, he's saying it himself. If you read the indictment, the recording that was taken with Trump's knowledge, he says it. This is classified. I could have declassified it. And now I'm not president. And the guy goes, yeah, we have a problem. awkward chuckle. Like it's, I mean, it's there in black and white. The only thing Trump can hope for at this point is like a jury nullification because, I mean, it's pretty damning.
Maybe, and a few things here. No, number one, I don't like. I've heard some very good deep fakes. I'm not saying that
Mhm,
I think that was a deep fake audio of Trump saying all that stuff, but
mhm.
some of it's just a little too good to be true. And I'd like to see some type of. I don't know if we can use AI to analyze AI and tell us, is this AI? But I
I
would
mean,
like to see some type of neutral, non-political evaluation determining that this is not a deep fake.
I mean,
And two, I think Trump is guilty. Even
right.
without that audio, like, I think Trump absolutely was doing things knowingly wrong, but it's that you can call it whataboutism if you want, but
Mhm.
what Hillary gave back to the when they were told she smashed the blackberries with hammers and said,
So the
"Okay, here you go," and
so the
then
problem there is intent and could you prove it? That's the thing. Is did Hillary have classified documents on that server? Yes, she did. We know that. But here's the thing, right? Joe Biden had classified documents. Mike Pence had classified documents. The reason that these people aren't charged is because you can't prove intent. With Donald Trump, we can prove intent.
and it
That's
has
the
nothing
only
to do
reason the charges are filed.
and the reasons have nothing to do with Donald Trump being the front runner for the GOP nomination.
He did this to himself. He declared his campaign early to try to get out in front of this.
Agreed, he did this to himself, but Joe Biden did it to himself. Mike Pence did it to himself. Hillary Clinton, like all these people that are holding classified
Mhm.
documents, did it to themselves. But only one of them is being prosecuted.
Because one of them tried to get a lawyer to lie to the government about it.
Mm,
Tried to
uh,
be like, "What if we just told them we gave them everything?"
and so you're telling me if Donald Trump were to say, Let's throw it all in the furnace, let's burn all the documents," that would have been better than okay, let me hold on to them.
I think if he'd have burned it without informing his lawyer, then yeah, that probably would have worked out better for him.
It would have worked out better for him, but that's what you think the American people would have. You think the media wouldn't have jumped on that and said, "Look at him destroying evidence."
The thing is you can say like there's the court of public opinion, which is all like hearsay, this, that, or the other. But when it comes to like investigations and things like that, it's all about what you can prove, right? So if he was in Mar-a-Lago burning documents with nobody in the room but himself, and then goes, "Oh, I don't have any classified documents. Feel free to come in and search." And they do, and they find nothing but ashes. Can't prove that those are the documents. I mean, they can think it is, but it's all about what you can prove, right? So at the end of the day, it would have worked out better for him had he done that. Like,
Kind of. I think what it's all about at the end of the day, what I think it's
I
all about for the left is trying to stop Donald Trump in any way, shape, or form. And if that
mean,
means prosecuting him, getting him locked up, whether that means giving just more fuel to the fire to just attack him and just have
I,
that 24/7 news
I
coverage.
don't disagree that the left will do anything to stop Donald Trump. The difference this time around, because they were trying to do anything they could to stop Donald Trump in 2016. The difference this time around is you have a contingent of Republicans who are also in the same boat, willing to do anything whatsoever to stop Donald Trump. You had Chris Christie announce his run. You have Mike Pence announce his run. You've got Ron DeSantis who jumped into the race, even though at this point in time, I don't think he's going anywhere. Like you've got,
Hold on. So you think Chris Christie and Mike Pence have a better chance than Ron DeSantis?
I think Chris Christie jumped in to try to get a media job somewhere. I don't think he stands a chance in hell. Mike Pence, however, Mike Pence has a very large following, especially among the Christian conservative groups.
May-
Absolutely.
Maybe, but I don't think he's going to be
And
polling.
name for me another time in history where a vice president ran against the person they served under.
What
It
does
just
that have
hasn't
to like?
happened.
Okay, but I don't think we've ever had. There's a lot of things that we've never seen happen
Mhm.
in the last 4 years, 5 years. So I don't think that's the magic bullet that you think it is. Just because a vice president is running against the guy that he was supposed to be partnered up with.
Mhm.
So
I, I think Mike Pence is showing the American people that he regrets serving under Donald Trump by running against him because he declared well after Donald Trump declared.
sure, and Mike Pence absolutely has a following, But do you
Mhm.
think any of the like, do you think the following that Pence has, any following that Chris Christie had, like Chris Christie probably has more ants and
I
dogs
mean,
following him for drop food than
Chris
any other fall.
Christie is not going to get or couldn't win an election in New Jersey. I don't think he's winning a national election. So I,
Mm,
I I think he's in it for the wrong reasons. I think he's going in thinking I'm going to get a media deal out of this. I'm going to get a book deal. I'm going to make some money. Whatever,
may-
man, you do you. Like,
maybe, maybe, but we both like we do agree. I think that Chris Christie's not a serious candidate, and I
mm,
think we should agree that Mike Pence isn't a serious candidate.
I think
Just
Mike Pence is more serious than Chris Christie.
I think maybe more serious about running, but in
Mhm.
terms of like a serious,
Oh no,
like legitimate
I think
shot at getting the nomination.
I what the debates I'm looking for, especially in the primaries, I want to see Mike Pence and Ron DeSantis. Like it's not to me, it's not even about Pence versus Trump. It's about Pence versus DeSantis because I at this point I don't see Trump as a serious candidate.
And you wouldn't want to see Trump against DeSantis? Like, I feel like that's the
Oh no, the thing is for ratings and for just entertainment, absolutely, I want to see Trump DeSantis because I think they would beat the hell out of each other in the primaries.
it's that Jerry Springer TV again.
But the thing is when as they're beating each other out very quietly, you have very stoic Mike Pence, who honestly, if you read his platform, is the conservative platform. So I think he's able to round out a bunch of conservatives. I think he's got a huge following when it comes to the Christians, especially in the Midwest. I think Mormons are on his side. Uh, I I think he's got more of a following than people give him credit for.
I think Mike Pence is more of a politician than the others, but I know
Mhm,
nothing about Mike Pence's track record. Like policy that Mike Pence has
mhm.
pushed, policy that Mike Pence has been behind.
Well, that's
And
the
that's what
thing.
you've got that with Trump and you've got that with DeSantis. DeSantis's track record in Florida is damn near perfect if you're talking about what modern conservatives want.
I mean, sure, I think he's on the extremes of that, but I mean, I can't speak for people outside of Florida, and I know that a bunch of, especially northern Republicans, do not see Ron DeSantis as their guy, and he has to win them over. I don't see Ron DeSantis winning in Idaho. I don't see him winning in Ohio. Like I don't see Michigan either. I don't see Ron DeSantis taking those states.
I think the big problem is getting out of the primaries. I think if DeSantis makes the general election, I think he has a better chance to beat Biden.
Hmm?
But if I think Trump has a better chance to win the primary, but a worse chance at beating either Biden or if it's RFK or some
I,
dark horse.
I don't see RFK as a serious candidate either. I know he's polling very well right now, but dude, I watched the Joe Rogan interview. Like I watched that thing in its entirety. Oh my God, RFK is wacky. Is the
For
polite way to say it.
for sure,
Like
he is a
it's
little bit
kind
of
of
a
a loon.
kook,
Yeah.
but no. So it's I think it's going to be the same kind of why did people vote for Joe Biden over Trump?
Mhm,
It's because it wasn't Trump, and I think you're going to find a lot of Democrats that are not super happy with Biden. I think the majority of the people that vote these days are underinformed voters.
mhm.
They just see a name and okay, like I like this person, I don't like this person. And I think the Kennedy name still holds enough weight that enough people are going to see if it's a Biden or a Kennedy. I think there's enough people that would just choose Kennedy.
I think all you have to do is show them the poll numbers right now. It's like, yes, uh, Robert Kennedy Jr., what I think
Yeah,
grandson. Yeah.
I
Um,
think he's the son
yeah.
of Robert.
Yeah. So I think he does really well against the President Joe Biden. And I think that's indicative of Democrats being very upset with Biden's policies. However, if you go look at RFK Jr. versus anybody on the Republican field, you put him up there, it's a layup.
So it's the
Like
same problem with Trump
or
versus
at least
DeSantis.
at least with Joe Biden versus the Republican field, it gets a little more even. I'm not saying Biden's popular by any stretch of the imagination, but if you are concerned with Republicans taking power in this country, right now Biden's your guy.
But I would
I'm
say the
not
same
happy about it, but that is what it is.
I would say the same thing about DeSantis. Like, if you look at DeSantis against any of the individual Democrats that are names, I think
Mhm.
DeSantis like cleans up.
Right.
But if you've got Trump against any of those names, like Trump, okay, Trump's going to do well in a primary, but I think even
I think
Kamala Harris would have a good shot at beating Trump.
I think Trump has a very good base of Republicans for sure. Can Trump get the 2016 phenomenon to get Republicans to rally around him? I don't think so. At this point, that would have to be a Hillary Clinton vote. It would have to be what I had to do in 2016, which was hold my nose as I did it. And I think Republicans just don't show. Like if Donald Trump wins the ticket, I think a lot of Republicans just don't show.
Maybe. I mean, it comes down to, I think, what you asked last episode
Mhm.
is if Trump doesn't win a primary, like what does he do at that point?
Dude, I think Trump's ego is so big, and I think that the charges against him are so they look rock solid from where I'm sitting right now that he continues his campaign anyway and basically hijacks the Republican Party for this election cycle.
But here's the thing: his numbers went up after the like post
They
indictment. His numbers are a lot higher.
they took a bit of a dip in the days directly after, and then when the spin stuff started coming out, his numbers did go up. So I could be wrong,
And the
but
polls that I see, there's a lot of people that would still vote for Trump if he was
I
in jail.
I'm waiting for August. I think they say that, but I think you'd have a lot of people that do write Trump's name in, but I don't think that he can actually get on the ballot in several states.
I I don't think so. Like I was looking into this, and it would
Mhm,
be an interesting, like, it's another one of those. This has never happened before that we've
mhm.
had somebody that's a leading. We've never had a former president brought up on charges before,
Right.
and we've also never had a president that was sitting in jail running his campaign from jail.
We did have one guy, I forget. I'll get a name for you, but we did have one guy that declared a run for president, but it was a joke run. It had nothing like no.
Okay, but
Mhm,
an actual serious candidate that has a chance at
mhm.
winning an election from a jail cell.
Again, when Trump says that he could shoot somebody in the street and not lose a single voter, it's probably right. He could probably be a convicted felon sitting in jail and not lose a single voter. That's just who he is.
Yeah, but I think that's more of a commentary on just the elites,
I think
that
it's
uniparty, that whatever you
I
want
think
to call
I
it.
think it's more a commentary on Trump's cult of personality because the people that are in Trump's camp will never be talked out of being in Trump's camp. You just can't do it. I've tried. Like those hardcore supporters are not leaving.
Yeah, I mean,
Like like
there's definitely a cult that
these are the people that put Donald Trump up on a cross as if he's Jesus and
for
sell those
sure.
paintings.
For sure, there's a cult that exists on both sides. There's the cult that thinks Donald Trump can do no wrong, and then there's the
Mhm.
cult that thinks Trump can do no right. That
Right.
those people that are saying, "Oh, we can't trust the judges just because they were appointed by somebody that I don't like that." What does that say about the judges? That they have no autonomy? Like they're just NPCs doing whatever Daddy Trump tells them to do? Like,
Apparently, I know that a lot of people are very upset about the judge in Florida. Her name escapes me right now, but it seemed that her rulings definitely seemed to try to help Trump as much as she could. And then when the indictment comes down and the judge pick is kind of on a lottery system, and her name comes up again, a lot of people are looking at that going, she should recuse herself. I'm not one of those people in that camp because I do believe that justice is fairly blind in a lot of cases, but we'll see. I think the overwhelming evidence in this case, I think Trump does get convicted here. Um,
do you think he sees jail time, or
I
do you
don't
think there's some type of Hunter Biden type plea deal?
dude, I don't see him serving jail time, and if there is jail time, it's like house arrest. It's not going to be. It's the thing is the optics of it to the rest of the world look really bad if you have a former president sitting in an actual jail cell. Like,
Especially when the guy that just beat him and this former president is talking about
uh,
trying to run against him again, and he says, "Okay, I'm gonna have Merrick Garland go after him."
I just think it looks really bad. all the way around. The thing is I also don't want this to be used in the future as a get out of jail free card. Oh, I'm looks like I'm getting investigated by the FBI. Let me just declare a run for president, in which case I get a sweet deal. So I
Yeah,
don't
but
know. I'm
that
torn on it.
that's a little bit of a simplification of Trump's situation. Is it wasn't I'm going to declare a run for president because I'm afraid of being prosecuted. I,
Then
I
why
think
then why declare so early?
I think November 3rd, 2020. I think Trump knew that, or whenever the election was called, I think that's when he knew he was running in 2024.
I
So
think he was it is my opinion, and I'm saying I have zero facts to back this up, and I don't think anybody has zero facts or has any facts to back this up. But it is my opinion that he knew he was going to be prosecuted. So he declared his election early to shield himself from prosecution. Because if you prosecute him, then he can turn around and be like, look, they're meddling in the election. I like 100%. That's what I think.
okay, so what to answer your question, why
Mhm.
did he declare so early? I think
Mhm.
he declared because it's Donald Trump. He wants to be the first person out there. Like he wants to get that name recognition. He's not a strategist. He's not somebody like Joe Biden last election. He
Mhm.
didn't declare until pretty damn late into the election. And I think that was a good strategy. Let all these other people do the infighting amongst themselves. And
I
I
mean,
think Trump thinks his name carries so much weight that if I declare, that's going to scare other people off from declaring.
did you watch the Fox interview?
No.
Dude, I highly
What
recommend.
interview?
It's the Donald Trump, Chris Wallace Fox interview. Dude, he gave like four different explanations as to why he kept documents, as to why he kept them where he did. It does not look good. And people are mad at Chris Wallace because he asked some really hard pointed questions and Trump had a really hard time answering them.
For sure. And
And
that's Trump's mistake.
right.
Like that's rule that's what's the first thing a lawyer is going to tell you when you're convicted of a crime?
Don't talk to the media at all.
Even just don't talk.
Mhm.
Like don't talk to the police, don't talk to like don't
But
get caught on a hot
this is
mic.
what I'm saying is he can't help himself. I don't think Donald Trump is a serious candidate in 2024 anymore. I just don't.
For sure.
I,
He's no more serious than he was in 2016. And
um,
when you talk about the the people coming after him, like everybody doing whatever they can to beat him in 2016, I don't think they did. I think nobody on the left really looked at him like a serious candidate. I've seen that montage of Trump will never be president. And like just
yeah.
1,000 times you hear that, and then somebody saying like they think Trump's gonna win, and then just the whole audience like
Oh no,
cue laughter.
I love the doom montages because in 2016 there was that Trump's never going to be president. So much so that the Democrat voters didn't show out because they were like, Hillary's going to win anyway. What's the point, right? And I mean, you got surprised there, right? But then I also look at the montage where people were saying Trump was going to sweep the 2020 election, where you had people out there saying that it was going to be a 50 state landslide, which is just absolutely ridiculous. Like eh, Ronald Reagan, the most popular Republican president in history, didn't get a 50 state landslide. Like,
Yeah, don't get me started on Reagan. You know the
right.
assault weapons ban,
I
the
mean,
strategic defense initiative,
I know. And the thing is like
closing the mental hospitals.
Ronald Reagan is a divisive character for many reasons, both on the left and the right. But at the time, he was the most popular Republican president of all time.
For sure, and I think that probably was the biggest win over what was it like Dukakis or some I don't know.
Yeah,
It was before I was born,
it
but
was a huge win. I forget, but and what's weird is he's out of California, a Republican out of California. Like that was happening in our lifetimes. And now all of a
California
sudden,
used to be a
California,
red state.
yeah, now all of a sudden, California is kind of off the rails when it comes to
Yeah,
Republicans.
that tide might be turning though. You look at San Francisco, all the news coming out of there that you
I
got.
do.
I think it was Westfield and Hilton saying, you know, we're done with the lease on these places. We're just going to give them back to the bank or whatever that backer is.
Right. I mean,
I think it's an absolute failure of democratic policy.
mm, you could
Name a
say
more democratic city than San Francisco. Seattle, Portland. Like, no, I think San
I
Francisco is the
mean,
most
I think New York.
left. I think New York has enough people in it that there's enough like yeah, there's probably more Democrats in New York City than anywhere else, but there's more people in New York City than anywhere else.
That's
But
fair.
if you talk about just percentages and just left wing policy, leftist policy, it's San Francisco, and it's a failure.
I mean, yeah. And the thing is like it's one of the reasons why I don't consider myself a Democrat is because everywhere I look, I see Democrats making terrible policy, and the Democratic Party making terrible policy. But at the same time, I don't consider myself a Republican either. I think there's bad policy on both sides, and part of that I think is I don't know. I just don't trust either party to do anything in my best interest, especially anymore.
What party are you registered as?
I'm registered as a Democrat.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
I mean,
you wouldn't, you're registered as a Democrat, but you wouldn't consider like I'm registered libertarian, and I would
okay.
absolutely consider myself libertarian.
So I think when I moved to Texas, I actually registered third party, but that's just because I wanted the pamphlets from both parties. But
Hmm.
I tend to vote Democrat, but that doesn't mean I don't have to hold my nose and do it. Like it's just one of those things, man. Me personally, I have to go with what do I think is best for myself and my neighbors. And I don't think Republicans are doing things in that interest. I think they're more in the pocket of big business at this point.
You think Republicans are more in the pocket of big business than Democrat? Like I know this was probably like the lowest
Hold on.
number of
You mentioned BlackRock earlier. Which political party receives more money from BlackRock than the other? I
like
think you would
I
be
haven't looked into it. I would guess they donate a lot of money on both sides.
they
But
do, but there is one clear winner, and
but
it's the Republican Party.
okay, so when you look at corporations,
Mhm.
what 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 corporations are changing their logos on Twitter to "Don't tread on me" flags, or some politically motivate, like no, it's the pride flag.
Okay.
It's during the month of June, and I know there was fewer
Well,
corporations than we've seen in a long time changing, but
but there's a reason for that, right? Because these corporations want to be able to sell to people, so they have to at least put on the appearance that they're hip and they're with it, right? Even though like most of them have policies on the books right now where I mean, for the longest time in the military, they had "Don't ask, don't tell." There were a lot of corporations in the United States that had that same lines. Well, we just don't talk about sexual identity at all.
okay, but
Our
you're talking
country,
about like 2000 1990s and 2000s
right?
corporations, and I'm talking about 2020 corporations.
Right.
I'm
So
talking about corporations that
you
are
have
pushing
you have
what's the
businesses you have
what's the
businesses
score?
that are putting up pride flags who have in the past donated millions of dollars to anti-LGBT causes.
And that
And
should
you
show
think
just
putting up
how
the flag is going to undo the damage you did? You really think
I think
so?
it's
I
pledging
think
fealty to the cause.
what they've done is they said, "Here's a group of consumers that we can market to." I
That's
think that's all it
absolutely
is.
part of it.
Mhm.
That's absolutely how little the corporations think of just consumers in general, that we
Right.
can change our logo to a rainbow and that'll undo everything that we've done. And the thing is, it works.
No.
There are people that see, oh, like they're with us. The makers of Goldfish, like I can't think of the like Pepperidge Farms or whoever makes that, like,
Right, right.
oh, they've got the rainbow on there. Like
Mhm.
that means they're with us.
Yeah. I they wouldn't do it if it didn't work, right? Like if it didn't
Exactly.
work, like
Exactly. So how many corporations do you see that are pushing right wing narratives, that are pushing either anti, like don't put trans in sports, which
well,
I think that should be a
so my favorite part of this is like I do watch a lot of right wing news and a lot of like right wing podcasts and stuff like that, and they're like, "Don't buy the name brand stuff. Buy this obscure brand, which is more expensive." But you know what? At least they don't pledge money to fight against the Second Amendment. Like, let's buy this more expensive, worse product. Like, you guys are
so so saying just because something isn't like the name brand, it's not like the dominant brand, that it's by default a worse product. Like
I'm I'm,
I think
I'm
there's
just
higher
saying.
quality
Thing is, I've bought some of this stuff. It is lower quality stuff, like for
for
sure.
sure. Like if we want to say like Pure Talk, like I
Mhm.
hear like Ben Shapiro all the time, like pushing Pure Talk is like,
Right. Like, no, thank you.
Yeah, but if you want to talk like ExpressVPN, I've had zero complaints. Like I know it's one of the more pricey VPNs out
Mhm.
there, but like I put some faith behind that brand,
I mean,
and
that's fair.
I think they are an apolitical brand. Like I don't think ExpressVPN is out there pushing any views left or right.
Yeah, we are not sponsored by ExpressVPN.
Yeah,
Just
shoot, this is
for
what
our listeners out there.
episode 2. We're not
Episode
sponsored
2.
by
Yeah,
anything. We're
yeah. I was about to
sponsored by
say
Jeff and Corey.
we're not shilling ExpressVPN, but no, I use ExpressVPN. They're not really. I don't do it for political reasons, but I don't know. I
It's a solid product.
it just seemed like a good option at the time, right? The thing is you do have a group of consumers in the United States that do make decisions based on a company's politics. And I think that is one of the things right now that they're really playing into is to be like, okay. And the thing is, when I love it when they're like, oh, well, the vast majority of Americans are actually like Republican conservative. It's like that if that was true, then these brands would not be going the direction they are because
So
they
it's
have to market to the biggest group of people, the biggest audience.
no, it's not about that. It's so they've done these studies where
Mhm.
they've said if you've got a brand that's politically neutral and you've got 50 Republicans, 50 Democrats, like whatever it is, if that brand were to shift to the right,
Mhm.
you'd lose a ton of Democrats. Whereas
Right.
if that brand shifts to the left, you don't really lose that many conservatives or Republicans. Like
No, because
most
they
people
don't.
that are on the right don't care. Like they'll just
Yeah,
buy
because
whatever's best.
they don't make their decisions based on a company's politics, right?
Exactly. So
So
what has a company got to lose by shifting to the left?
very little.
Exactly. What has a company got to lose by shifting to the right is
I
going to
can
be
but the
getting
thing is I can
canceled.
always count on a company to do what's in their best interest, right? So if I'm seeing that, oh, well, in the last 10 years, all of a sudden putting pride flags up, saying you're pro gay marriage, love is love, all this other branding stuff. If I'm seeing that, I'm going, huh, well, these people have to be playing to whatever's in their best interest. And if they look at the numbers and they see that, oh, well, if we do this, we're actually not going to lose that many people from the right and we're going to gain a whole bunch of people from the left, why wouldn't they do that? And the thing is,
That
I think it's disingenuous to kind of hold it against companies for moving that way. I'm like, if you didn't want that, right? Wouldn't you rally your base or whatnot to be like, hey, don't buy this product? But what we're seeing is the right wing boycotts really don't work. I mean, Bud Light is still here. Like
okay, but that was
Anheuser
March.
Busch is
I
still
I think
here.
I think Bud Light as a brand is
Mhm.
completely ruined. If anything, I was thinking we need to have you drinking some Bud Lights on the show.
Yeah,
That's all
I'll bring
that's
one.
all it is.
I'll even get the activist and put her right here. Like,
I think that was like a one like you'll have to custom print that can, but like
yeah,
you can definitely get like
I
the
don't think you
rainbow
can
Bud
get it
Lights.
anymore. I don't
Yeah.
drink Bud Light just because I thought it was gross, but
Yeah, but
it was the beer we played beer pong with when I was younger. Like,
exactly, and that's what I think today's Zoomer generation, I think when they have a choice, like, and Bud Light is the same price as Heineken or Coors Light, like, I think those are absolutely both
Mhm.
preferable options to Bud Light these days, because Bud Light's the gay brand, and it's the effeminate brand,
Hmm.
and most kids in college, if you're 20 something years old, like, I think that stigma still exists in today's youth that you don't want your
I mean,
bros and other women to see you as effeminate.
if you don't want to buy something, don't buy something. But the thing is like you're saying, oh, well, the sales of Bud Light are down. I'm like, yeah, but the parent company, freaking Anheuser Busch, record profits year over year. People just move to other things in their catalog.
Or other things outside of so, like, I know Modelo worldwide is owned by
Mhm.
Anheuser-Busch, but in the United States, for some, like, anti-monopoly, antitrust law or something,
Right.
like, Modelo's their own brand, and
Mhm.
Modelo's overtaken Anheuser-Busch in the United States,
I
and I
mean,
think Anheuser-Busch has lost their top spot worldwide.
about to say Modelo's a better beer anyway, but I'm not going to get into that.
For
I
sure. I mean, if you really want a good beer, like, don't get some
Mhm.
worldwide, like, even nationwide brand, like, get something that's
Right.
brewed in your local like, shout
Right.
out to Stone
I'm
Brewing
just
San Diego, like, that's
yeah, I'm just like uh I just know from my personal preference, right? I just know that if I have to choose a name brand beer, I usually go with Modelo, but that's just me. So I I mean I also agree with you. You should support your local brewery, mainly because th're not some worldwide, and generally not only are they cheaper, but they're better.
I don't
Um,
know about cheaper, but de
well, it depends on which one you go to. Like the super small pubs and stuff, really really good.
maybe, but
Mm,
9.5 times out of 10, like, absolutely, I would say that they're better.
right. But I don't know. I don't know. Do you think we beat this dead horse enough?
Well, so maybe a little bit on the Bud Light side, but
Mhm.
if you wanna say, like, what does the tide look like, a year ago, like, I
Mhm.
definitely would've said, like, the tide is still shifting left. But then
Yeah,
you look at the Target boycott, Target stock is pretty far down, and, I don't remember who, like, it was maybe like,
it's momentary.
okay, but why is Walmart stock, either up or stagnant, and Target's the only big box store that's going down like that?
Mm,
Like,
Again,
why is Target, and when you talk about, so you had just said, like, I don't wanna fault brands for shifting this way or doing what they think is in their best interest or
mhm,
catering to whatever consumers. Just remember those words as you start seeing Target moving these LGBTQIA divided sign, displays, moving those to the back, taking them down. Remember that when Starbucks is their area managers are telling employees, we don't want to see this stuff in the stores.
okay. If that's the way they want to run their businesses, go for it.
Yeah, and we'll see if they face any kind of backlash, which
Okay.
Starbucks is the one that surprised me the most,
I
just
mean,
because they are kind of that lefty hipster, drink your coffee while you work on your MacBook and listen to some indie rock.
well, the thing is a lot of people have become anti Starbucks over the years anyway, just because of the amount of sugar they put in their coffee. And there's been this movement that I've actually been a huge fan of, especially in recent years, to buy more local stuff. Like me and my partner, we go to farmers markets and stuff like that because they happen all the time around here. And I feel better that my money stays in my community and doesn't go to pay some CEO who has no vested interest in my community, like zero, right? But the farmer down the street who sells freaking cabbage and stuff like that, he actually does have a vested interest here, right? And I think there's been this huge, I don't know, I wouldn't say huge yet, but I think it will become a bigger thing when people start realizing the amount of money that's been sucked out of these smaller communities that have just gone to the big players.
Yeah, but how do you stop that big, like Amazon, as much as I don't like a big company, like
Mhm.
the convenience of just being able to go online in a one-stop shop, like, pretty much anything I wanna buy, like, pretty much everything that you're gonna see on screen, like, came
Right.
from Amazon,
Mhm.
so
I mean, I, I I I don't like Amazon, but Amazon's here and I use it. I'm not the biggest boycotter of it for sure, but at the same time, I also understand that every dollar I spend on Amazon doesn't benefit anybody in my community. Doesn't like my neighbors don't benefit from that. Nothing
ho
benefits from that.
how many neighbors, and I know you don't have a ton of
Mhm.
neighbors, like,
Mhm.
nearby, but, like, how many people are employed, like, voluntary employee, like, I don't think Amazon owns any slaves, so
Uh,
how many people, like, how many jobs and, like, livelihoods does
okay.
Amazon provide?
Well, that's the thing though, is like I can go, oh, well, Amazon creates jobs, right? Well, okay. Well, those jobs are usually lower paying. Like people don't live off of Amazon. Normally, the people that work Amazon, this is their second or third job. So
Yeah,
you can say they're
thanks, Joe
job
Biden.
creators. Yeah, you can say they're job creators, but I would really look at the quality of the jobs they've created. Like,
I don't
go
think
be
it's a problem. It's a supply and demand. If I can get a job making $15 an hour flipping burgers
Mhm.
versus 17 hours of $17 an hour dropping off packages, like, I don't know, it's menial labor. Like, I'm not developing any skills. Like, I'll just
Right,
pay is the only factor there. So people are gonna
right.
go choose the job. Like,
I, I, I guess my argument is more we're treating Amazon fulfillers as if they're the old school McDonald's employees, where it's like, oh, well, it used to be back in the day that you could actually live off of your income at McDonald's. It's not that way anymore. And what we've done is we've driven down prices so much because we don't value that labor at all, because it generally is unskilled labor. So I, the people that
it
are
is,
working McDonald's are also being Amazon fulfillers.
but it's
Get by.
also it's also gonna look like the housing market, like the minimum wage, that could, like, what that could buy you. 100 years ago compared to what the minimum wage is now. I think in the Great Depression, like that's what we'd be talking about 100 years ago is close to those Great Depression numbers.
Right.
And the discrepancy between your average or maybe it was median income compared to what a house is way worse today in 2023 than it was in like heart of the Great Depression.
Right.
So if you want to that's where I think the problem is. I don't think it's going to be with oh these corporations aren't paying their employees enough money. I think it's you've got BlackRock and Vanguard and Zillow and all these companies that are buying up houses and we can afford to sit on these until the
Right.
market improves. That's where the problem is.
Well, no, they're definitely creating an inventory shortage, right? So they've hijacked the supply and demand dynamics of the free market, and they've used that in order to cause a housing shortage to drive up costs, right? But I think a lot of people are actually starting to get wise to this. And I know, especially for a lot of the people that I talk to, they're just staying out of the housing market entirely. And they're like, no, I've come to terms with the fact that I'm just going to rent forever because I refuse to play this game. Right.
Mm, for
And
forever is a long time.
well, at least until things change. Right. Um, I know for myself, I didn't wait for that. I actually bought a house. Right. But at the same time, I looked at the market at the time, that 2020, 2021 housing market where zero interest rates, this, that, or the other. And I was like, it's never going to get any better than this. Like, why would I wait? Um,
So you'd rather pay a higher principal versus a higher interest rate.
exactly.
I don't know. That becomes tomato tomato to me. Like it's definitely a more nuanced.
I mean, if I did the math, especially for myself, I looked at the math and I was like, okay, well, if I do a higher principal, really low interest rate, the amount I pay over time is actually less than if I waited for a lower principal, higher interest rate. And again, the numbers you can play with, and sometimes it doesn't work out in that favor. But I know for me in my specific case, that's what the numbers were, and I was like, well, I might as well pull the trigger now. I'm that, and I had the financial means to do so. So it's all relative, I guess. But the thing is I had a good job. I didn't need more than one to not only pay my rent but save. And what I'm looking for is especially the people in smaller towns and smaller communities, those opportunities just aren't there. Like most of the better paying jobs have been migrating towards cities and things like that, and they're not in the smaller communities. So you get people that pack up and leave. You get jobs that stay here, like the freaking Dollar General that pays $7.50 an hour, and those aren't skill building jobs either. So you get people that work that job, then another, just to pay rent or just to pay their mortgage. So
So where are they putting in the rest of their effort? So if you've got that job, let's say you're working however many hour, you got a full time job and a part time job. Maybe you can work a little harder and get just where you're working one full time job,
well,
and you're basically talking about my life story, where essentially I looked at like I didn't really go to school for the skills that I developed. I watched YouTube videos, and then I
right.
used Quizlet, like little free flashcards to make like really like ingrain that information and understand it,
Mhm.
and then you develop a skill set, and the skill set that we've both developed allows remote work. So
Right.
I think there's this whole like oh people are stuck in a small town, like people are stuck in dead end jobs. I think it's like I heard Candace Owens talking about this, that you've got victim mentality and you need the victor mentality. You need to look at what options are available to you, create a plan, and then just grind it out.
Okay. The thing is I don't disagree with that at face value, but what I will say is that it's not a victim mentality. It's just the reality of where some people are. And it's like, hey, I'm going to do the job that my father did and my grandfather did before me. And then when you get there, you realize that, oh, well, the pay for this has not increased and everything else has gone up. I mean, we want to talk about inflation right now. Inflation, my grocery bills are insane right now. And I think a lot of other Americans, their grocery bills have gotten a little insane. Like
For
people
sure,
are
but
dropping $200 to $300 every time they go, right? And it's, it's it's getting to the point now where wages either have to increase or prices for goods and services must come down.
So
And
I agree, but
Mhm,
change is inevitable.
mhm,
Everything changes. If you were talking, you go back 100 years, every 100, even every 50-year increment,
mhm,
it's basically a completely different world. And I think if we want to close this out on something that I think we both agree on,
mhm.
I think an inevitability here, especially with Chat GPT and all these AI platforms, I think UBI is coming. Like I think it's an inevitable. I think there's going to be a point where we have to have some type
I
of
mean,
universal basic income.
yeah, I mean, me and you have had like tons of discussions on UBI. I've been a fan of UBI since first hearing about it, first reading about it, mainly because I think it does offer a floor for people to not end up on unemployment rolls, to not. And the thing is what we're talking about is like getting rid of the entire welfare state, right? To get rid of all of that and just be like, nope, you're going to get a monthly stipend from the government that allows you to pay for the bare minimums. And the
So
thing is,
that's where we're going to disagree a little bit. Is
Mhm.
I don't think UBI should be a living wage. Like I think you should be able to work that McDonald's minimum wage job and then still afford a minimum lifestyle.
Well, no, what I'm saying is like we've known for a long time the three things that people need to live, or that any creature on this earth needs to live, is food, water, and shelter, right? It should pay for those things. And like that should be it. And the thing is like we can defend that because that is what we've been saying for I don't know, freaking 100 years now. Those are the three things someone needs to live, and I don't want to provide any more than what someone needs to live. Food, water, shelter. That's all I want.
Yeah, and I think you need to like that equation kind of discounts social interaction and
Well, yeah, but
like
I
that
mean,
doesn't cost anything, but it could.
well,
Like the world does change, everything changes, and especially in
I
this
mean,
remote world.
are we gonna have you, Jeff, defend the Obama phone communication? We're gonna we're gonna give phones to everyone?
To United States citizens, I'd be down.
No, okay.
And if it's that earning citizenship, and it's not just
Mhm.
you can be on vacation and have a child here, and now they're entitled to all the other American entitlements. Like,
I mean, the thing is I think another thing that we generally agree on is that the welfare state in general needs either done away with or revamped entirely. Um, a lot of these programs either don't work or have some really terrible unintended consequences um, that allow people not to work and allow people to just stay on the system and stay on those roles forever, which is not something that I don't think anybody intends.
agreed.